Hello, everybody. It was just such a beautiful day, so I needed to get some sunshine. I hope you're all able to soak in a little bit of sunshine as well. Today, we are going to talk about hormones. Now, hormones is an extremely complex and convoluted conversation. We're just going to cover little bits and pieces of it today, hopefully just addressing some of the biggest thoughts you might have or biggest questions you might have. And we're going to particularly dwell on our sex hormones today, testosterone and estrogen being the big ones. This is short and sweet. This is a quick dive into hormones and out. So this is not going to answer all of your questions. We're not going to talk about the many different forms of hormones that are out there in this incredible symphony that they play together, but we are going to address some of the basics of what you need to know so that you know if there's anything else that you should be doing at this time. Let's go ahead and get started. Many of you might think that hormones are, in a female, oh, my hormones are a problem. I have hot flashes. I have vaginal dryness. I feel like I'm gaining weight all the time, or I'm really tired. That's so common to hear in women. In men, it can be issues of I'm just not able to maintain endurance as long. I'm lacking motivation. I feel somewhat depressed. They may notice decreased muscle mass or even decreased libido. Those are very common signs and symptoms of hormone imbalance in men and women. But what about the people that come in and noticed a more sudden onset of joint aches and pains? That's not your typical that you hear of, but it can absolutely be related to hormonal changes. We see fatigue to significant levels that it's starting to really affect quality of life. You see sleep disturbances. We see mood instability where all of a sudden anxiety is really kicking up. A lot of times we do take care of a lot of men and women for hormonal issues, and women will really attribute a lot of things to the season of life they're in. So maybe they're really busy with their career, or they're very busy with children and odds and ends and taking care of family. And so they attribute a lot of their issues to environmental stressors. Well, that can absolutely be a role in this. But when those collide with a hormonal imbalance change, it can absolutely turn your life upside down. So today we're going to dig into that just a little bit and really talk about what are hormones and what do they do. Well, think of hormones as chemical signalers. I love to think of them like Lego blocks. A hormone circulates through the body and it attaches to a receptor just like a perfect Lego would fit into another Lego piece. Hormonal Lego into a receptor Lego in a cell. When those two connect in a perfect fashion, it triggers a chemical reaction inside the cell. So these hormones are chemical signalers that turn reactions on and off. Now, that comes into play because we really want to focus on hormones that are exactly like the ones our body makes. When we start getting into changes in structure and a chemical nature of a hormone, then those Legos don't fit quite perfectly together, but they can fit enough to trigger reactions we don't want to have happen. So you'll commonly hear terms like bioidentical and non-bioidentical. Bioidentical is what your body knows. It's the exact chemical structure that your body already makes. Perfect Lego to perfect Lego. Non-bioidentical means it's not exactly the same structure that your body makes. It's sort of close. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever tried to take generic Legos and put them with regular Legos. You can push really hard and you can squish them together. That's not a perfect fit and it's not going to work the way you always want it to. So think about that with hormones. So hormones are chemical messengers and they turn reactions on or off based on their fit to the specific cell. If you think about Premarin, okay, this is a perfect example. You might already know this, but Premarin it's one of the medications that you can get. It's the most commonly prescribed form of estrogen. Premarin's name comes from pregnant mare urine. So Premarin is from pregnant mares, pregnant horses, and horses actually have a multitude of forms of estrogen. In women, we only have 3. So it's interesting to see that we would take the forms of estrogen from an animal that has so many. And what we see with that is we can get some abnormal fits into receptors that can alter our reactions. Hence the reason why we love to work with bioidentical hormones. Now, what are some of the symptoms that you might have? Symptoms of hormone imbalance. Well, we can have depression, fatigue, poor concentration is one of our biggies. We see problems with mental clarity and brain fog. Of course, there's hot flashes. In men, there's erectile dysfunction. And both men and women, we see decreases in libido, insomnia. People say, I can't sleep. I just can't sleep at all. Anxiety, irritability, muscles start getting real soft and their body just starts getting soft. Maybe it's hair loss. We had somebody come in yesterday that's like, I swear I'm gaining weight by the minute, mid abdomen weight, right? So just around your center of your body, weight gain. All of these are just really, really common symptoms or what happens when your hormones get out of sync. Now, first thing we want to do is if you have a concern, you want to be evaluated by somebody who is very educated and expert knowledge in hormonal therapy. Why is that? Well, we have the traditional models and then we have our functional medicine models and hormonal expertise. In the traditional world, let's talk about men's hormones because this is a great ways to monitor those testosterone levels. In men, what is considered normal is a range of 200 to 1200. Well, I don't know about you, but I think a range of 200 to 1200 is a pretty enormous range. Here's the problem. Men will experience erectile dysfunction when their levels are less than 230. You'll have increased risk of mortality. So your death rate will go up with a testosterone less than 600. To me, that is not normal. So in functional medicine, we strive for ideal and not normal. We know that an ideal testosterone for men is between 900 and 1200. That is your hormonal sweet spot, not down at 230, which can be deemed normal by traditional medicine because at 230, you're having issues with erectile dysfunction and you already have an increased mortality rate. So very, very important to know what your normal ranges are and why going for ideal in a hormonal world is much better than just going for something that is considered normal by our typical standards. Sometimes people express concern about hormone therapy and gosh, the tides have swung back and forth so much over the past 20 years. The original studies on hormone therapy were done about 20 years ago. And since then, we have literally thousands of studies based on hormones. The problem is they get very complicated because if a study was done on women, were they premenopausal, postmenopausal? Were they using bioidentical, non-bioidentical? Was it in combination with progesterone or without progesterone? Was the progesterone actually bioidentical or was it synthetic? What were the lifestyles involved? What were the family histories involved? Very complicated. What's the genetic makeup? How well does somebody detoxify? Does somebody metabolize their estrogen through a pathway that actually increases their cancer risk? We have the benefit of knowing how to check all of that information I just rattled off. So it's very hard to say, I'm going to take a group of women and I'm going to put them on all these different variables and come up with a conclusion. Now, that being said, over even the past 5 years, the amount of data that we have coming out for hormonal therapy, specifically towards really balancing hormones and getting them to a place where a woman not only feels fantastic, but improves her longevity and actually decreases her cancer risk. That amount of data that we have is incredible. When you look at the evidence of how clinical treatments, we'll say, or insurance pathways run, unfortunately, insurance treats based on information that's typically between 5 and 10 years old. We see right now that the amount of medical information we have doubles every 3 years. So it's very important. One, see somebody who is an expert in hormonal care if you feel you have a hormonal problem. Number two, be open-minded to the newest research and the newest data because what is commonly out there is old and outdated. So we have a lot of information. Hormonal therapy is neither the panacea of all medicine, but it's not something that you should be afraid of at all in the hands of somebody who is expert in caring for you. So what can you do if your hormones are out of balance? Well, I would tell you there's a number of different things you can do from a lifestyle perspective to really help even things out. First of all, getting sunlight. So getting out in the fresh air in the natural environment really helps with the circadian rhythms. That's your day and night patterns, which your hormones are all released on. Basically, your hormones are released in a circadian rhythm and they need that rhythm for things to work properly. So make sure you're getting some first morning sunlight. Make sure you're getting fresh air every day. Secondly is exercise. There's nothing better than exercise, and that's just moving your body. So I'm not telling you you have to go to the gym an hour every day and do this intense routine. We can talk about that specifically in your care plan, whether a HIIT workout, which is high intensity training, is better for you, but movement. Get movement every day. Increasing muscle tone actually triggers a balancing of your hormonal patterns. Thirdly, eat well. There's so much that goes into your diet and hormonal regulation, from the hormones that are actually produced in your body to balancing your hormones to getting rid of the excess hormones in your body and detoxification. It's a whole topic by itself that I could get into for hormones. But if you clean up what you're eating, cut out your sugar, cut out the gluten, cut out the dairy, do that for a month and see what happens from a hormonal perspective within your body. And lastly, get your levels tested. Get them tested by somebody who interprets the information based on ideal. You want your ideal hormonal levels for your particular situation and your body. We don't want to rely on a lab test that has a range that's over 900 points in variability. We want to go for what's ideal for you and ideal for your body. So, if you have any questions about hormonal therapy, if the fatigue or weight gain or brain fog or hot flashes or gosh, I don't even know if this is safe for me, then please reach out to us at Vitality. We'd love to talk to you and see how we could help you improve the quality of your life and your longevity. All right. Well, thanks for joining me today for our quick dive into hormonal therapy. And I look forward to seeing you again next week.